Hello, Team 22. My name is Harp Athwal, and I'm the head of client services at Adaptavist. Adaptavist is a global platinum partner for Atlassian, and we've got 500 amazing people. Actually, by the time we probably see this, maybe closer to 600 around the world. We're in about 15 countries, and our hope is that we're adding value to amazing customers like the work that Derek is doing through our solutions and products. Our talk today is titled Digital Transformation That Saves Lives and Time. We're going to focus on how Sick Kids Foundation has leveraged Jira Service Management, and we'll also talk about cloud migration through there to transform support with their employees. So the theme is ITSM. And if you're familiar with ITSM, great. And if you're not, no problem. ITSM stands for Information Technology Service Management. So what is that? It's a strategic approach for designing, delivering, managing, improving the way that IT is used in an organization. It's very strategic for a company, and today we're going to explore how our amazing client, Sick Kids Foundations, leveraged both Atlassian tools and also partnered with Adaptavist to achieve some fantastic things. So I'm extremely excited to welcome Derek Sutton, who's the Director of Infrastructure and Enterprise Architecture at the Sick Kids Foundation. Welcome, Derek.
Hi, Harp. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Oh, well, Derek, I know you and I were both hoping I would be in Vegas right now. Unfortunately, it's not in the cards. And if we were in Vegas, I hope right there I was going to get lots of boos and groans from the audience. But fortunately, we're going to do this remotely. And as they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But what happens on these slides, the entire world is going to be able to enjoy. So why don't I kick things off? I'm going to just share what our agenda is today first. We're going to talk around what the Sick Kids Foundation does. We'll speak about how our journey began. We're going to talk about the transformation. And so this includes service management and also the cloud migration piece, the role that Adaptavist played, looking to the future, and then we'll wrap things up today with the big picture. Derek, your role, I would love it if you could share what you do at Sick Kids Foundation and also how it ties into what the world is probably very familiar with, the world-class organization, which is the Hospital for Sick Children.
Sure thing. Well, thanks, Harp. So as Harp said, I'm Derek Sutton. I'm the Director of Infrastructure and Enterprise Architecture at Sick Kids Foundation. So as you might imagine from that title, I'm responsible for all of the infrastructure, including on-premise, cloud platforms, things like that. But my team is also responsible for end user support and any of the ITSM processes in use at the foundation. So the foundation itself, we support the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, Canada. So we raise money to support all sorts of things like groundbreaking research into things like allergies and stuff like that. But right now, our really big push is we're actually raising over $1.5 billion, which is one of the largest sort of healthcare fundraising drives in Canadian history, to actually rebuild the hospital. Last time it was rebuilt was back in the 40s, where the whole sort of population of Toronto and Southern Ontario kind of came together to sort of rebuild the hospital. And now we're calling on people to do that again. So really looking to the future there and looking to really improve children's health.
Derek, so I was going to kick things off today with actually reading a ticket that came from the Sick Kids Foundation to Adaptavist back in 2017. We also at Adaptavist use Jira for our intake system. So for our service desk, back then called Jira Service Desk, now Jira Service Management. And this opportunity was in 2017, but the history of Sick Kids Foundation in Toronto and my involvement, it's actually been a lot longer. So I joined Adaptavist 2014, but back in 2003, Sick Kids Foundation's always been very innovative. It's going to seem like something that we all do today, which is monthly donations. Back then, Sick Kids Foundation was one of the first organizations to use monthly donations. So I knew when I saw this that there was going to be something, even back in 2017, that's going to be very impressive. So the ticket, I'm just going to read it out loud here. It said, here at Sick Kids Foundation, we're looking to relaunch Jira. It has been used for some time, but we're looking at moving to the cloud version from on-prem, upgrading versions, looking at add-ons, and architecting for the foundation as a whole. Could someone please get in touch so that we can learn more about your service offerings and approach? So back in 2017, Derek, can you tell us more about what the foundation was going through?
Sure. As I cast my mind back, so that was right around the time that I actually joined the foundation. And one of the first things I did was to come on and ask, say, so what are you doing right now when it comes to things like incident management, request management? And at the moment, at that moment, the IT department was using an on-premise Jira software solution, really for sort of general task management. There weren't really any proper ITSM processes in place. So no differentiation really between requests and incidents, really tough to track things. It was complicated for users to actually use directly. And the version of Jira we're using was way out of date. It wasn't under support anymore. So we realized pretty quickly that we needed to do something in order to better support the foundation, all of our employees, and especially our fundraisers out there raising money. And so that's actually the point where, just as you read, right, we decided to engage Adaptavist. Really, at first, was to take that first step and upgrade to a more recent version of Jira, so we could then explore further capabilities. And so that's really where it began. During that point, there's a moment that you had where I think we call it the Eureka moment, where I know you're using Jira software, you're using Confluence. Really, the service desk option wasn't maybe necessarily in play. And if it was, maybe not in the way that you're currently using it. So when was it that Jira Service Management became an option at that time? And also cloud migrations, how did that play a part in that? When we upgraded Jira, that's when we got access to the Jira Service Management. I guess, as you said, called Jira Service Desk then. And that was the point where we really wanted to start looking to architect a proper ITSM solution for the foundation. So proper incident request, change management, all that stuff to start. And so with the upgrade in place, we were free to start playing around with the service desk, modules. And one thing we realized is we were encountering a lot of roadblocks. We had over a decade's worth of kind of configurations, fields, data, old add-ins, and things like that were presenting a real challenge as we tried to create the service desks and projects necessary in order to revamp our processes. We were just encountering a lot of problems. And that's when we were having discussions with Adaptavist, and they said, well, you know what, now the community pricing is available for the cloud offering. And one of the goals that I've had since I started the foundation was actually to get us as much as possible onto cloud platforms. And so once that community pricing was available, that's where we realized, okay, now we can actually look at this a lot more seriously. And that's where we really made the decision to say, you know what, we need to make a clean break and start fresh in the cloud. And so the first thing we did is we engaged with Adaptavist to sort of help us get set up, to sort of figure out what are the configurations that we need, how are we going to do it. I have to say the transformation once we launched in the cloud was pretty dramatic. We went from a system that was really difficult for users to navigate, a lot of triage by email, to a platform with an easy to use portal. And that's really what led to some of the numbers that you see there, right? There's a major reduction in emails for requests and incidents. People didn't have to email somebody directly, or just email a group to say, hey, I've got a problem here. Can you fix it? Right now, people could go to a portal. They could log things. We had better tracking, better resolution times. And that led to really, it was like a 95% reduction very, very quickly in the amount of sort of emails for sort of assistance and requests and things like that the group was seeing. And it was that kind of the same thing with change management. Before change management, we didn't really have a proper process in place. It was really tough to track approvals. Really tough to go back and see, well, what are the things that we did in the past when you have an issue and you need to troubleshoot it? So we actually used the service management to set up a proper change management project and service desk. So now our change management meetings, everyone knows the queues to look at. The approvals are happening in real time. We can go back really easily to see what we've done so we can troubleshoot. So it's really been an amazing transformation for us. Yeah, those numbers though, Derek, like they are so impressive that I wish we had more time to go into the details, but since we don't, I did want to let the audience know that there's 3 areas that there's more information available. So
If you go to the Atlassian website, Atlassian did a fantastic case study that Derek participated in. So if you look for case studies for Sick Kids Foundation at the Atlassian website, you'll find one thing there. Also, if you look on the Adaptavist site, there's a blog that also details a lot of this. And we have a podcast called Team Titans where Ryan Spilkin, who's with Adaptavist, he also did a really in-depth conversation with Derek. So between those case studies, please go take a look, and you can always reach out to us also. Really curious about this one here, Derek. Your words, actually, more than anything, have been kind of condensed into this word bubble. I was hoping maybe you could pick one or two things over the course of this partnership, and I really think it's a true partnership that we've had for 5 years. What kind of words jump out at you, and maybe you can share a story or two?
Yeah. So when I look at that, the first thing that jumps out at me are actually the names. Like I see folks from Adaptavist and folks from the foundation, along with things like, laugh and beer, that speak to a relationship that's not just transactional. And I think that's something that's really important. Something that Adaptavist has really done is sort of teach us how to use things and really established a good relationship with a lot of trust. But I think the word that I really want to focus on is actually the word challenge, which you can see kind of buried in there at the top. So previous to the foundation, I'd come from some organizations that were using ITSM systems in a really traditional way, with centralized help desks, like routing tickets out to different teams. And when I was first designing what the ITSM processes of the foundation should look like, the original vision was to actually have Jira Service Management function in pretty much the same way. But we're not a big organization. We don't have a team that's dedicated to just managing tickets, to take something in that's to ingest something that's coming from the user base and saying, okay, this one goes to the digital team. This one goes to the networking team. This one goes, to your Active Directory group, things like that, right? So what I did is I actually created this really beautiful flow to have tickets logged in sort of a single place, just a single service desk, and then behind the scenes get routed to the right team. It was, I have to say, it was really gorgeous. Just all these great sort of automations and things like that. And Rodolfo actually recognized sort of how complex it was. And rather than just saying, yeah, sure, we'll implement that, he actually challenged me to think about how to do things sort of in the Jira service management way, was kind of how he put it. Because he could have just implemented it. And then probably within a week or a month or 2 months, it would have needed changing. And all those scripts and automations would need updating. And it would just turn into a massive job, which I'm sure Adaptavist would be more than capable to help us with. But that wasn't the way that our relationship worked. And that's when I realized that I was actually thinking about it all wrong. Different teams within our IT department or anybody that's actually using Jira Service Management work in different ways. So their service desks don't need to all be the same. You can still make it easy for your users with having multiple service desks they need to choose from. But what the big advantage is you can get your incidents and your requests and all that stuff logged directly with the teams that are going to be taking action on it. And then what it does is it makes it very kind of scalable and adaptable to your organization. So as we've gone along over the course of the past year, what we found is we've been adjusting the different service desks that different teams use in order to make sure that those teams are getting the right information that they need from the users, that the users know exactly what it is that they need to put in, and it saves a lot of time. So they just go directly to the team that's going to take that action. Of course, there's some things people might get confused. You might pass some things around, but generally, everybody's interacting directly with the groups that they need to. And it's been really fantastic, and it's been really scalable. It's allowed us to be able to onboard more teams into the platform to start servicing our users in all sorts of different ways. And you can see the case study if you want any more details on some of that kind of work.
That's fantastic. And Derek, like our work together has been something that many people at Adaptavist really care for. And I'm going to speak about that just in a second. But right now, if we were to look at the future, right now, Team 22. Let's assume, crystal ball this for a bit with me. It's Team 24. Atlassian's kind enough to invite us back, and maybe we'll be in Vegas at that point. What do you think the conversation is going to be? What do you think Sick Kids Foundation will have accomplished over the next couple of years? How do you think the Atlassian tools will play a part in that? And what's our relationship between Sick Kids Foundation and Adaptavist looking like?
Well, if I sort of think ahead to the future, it's actually a really good time because at the foundation, we're actually working on what our strategic plan is going to be, for the next 5+ years. So I've been thinking about the future, and one of the key pillars of that strategic plan is all around digital. What does it take to be a digital first organization? So as an organization, we've had to think, what exactly does that look like? What does it mean to be a digital first organization, a digitally enabled organization, or a leading digital organization, those sorts of things. And so what we considered was that properly digital organization is one where your users can self-serve, where they can get the information that they need without always having to make a request to the IT department to say, can you do this? Can you get this? The more resources that we can make available to our users at the front end is actually going to free up our IT resources to be able to do sort of more value added work to sort of support our fundraisers, more big projects, ways to sort of, really transform some of the ways that we're sort of raising money while the users are able to get the information they need, especially sort of right at their fingertips. And so having a portal that's there available to them that can really be a place where they can go to find that information is one of the keys. And then in the back end, it's all about sort of tying it all together. So things like the insights asset management, alerting through Ops Genie, further management of projects using Jira software, and actually all of that stuff kind of tying together is really all about sort of having a fully kind of digitally enabled organization kind of front to back. And that's what I would hope, in a couple of years' time, to be able to talk about this sort of thing. That's what I'd want to be able to say that we've managed to accomplish, is that our users are able to manage things more and more on their own, and IT is able to tie all of these things together to really kind of support the organization. So that's my hope.
Well, let's hope that we get to do this talk and see how close we were to the truth in a couple of years' time. We're about to wrap up soon, but I did want to share one thing, and this is that when Atlassian did the case study, one of the things I shared was what's on the slide. I don't necessarily need to read it, but the work that we do together, it's really important. And I think anyone, especially the way that the world is right now, to come to work and be able to see some real immediate impact, a positive impact, it's fantastic. And I just want to thank you, Derek, on behalf of Adaptavist, of all the amazing things that you have done, continuing to do. And on those lines, it was funny because when we started working on this project, we have an amazing consultant named Vitor Fregoso, and he's got 2 young kids, lives in Toronto, and he really wanted to work on this because we know for anyone who's in Toronto, the Sick Kids Foundation is just paramount to everything there. And to be able to work on this was huge. So again, thank you for that. I want to flip it a bit more towards now the audience that's listening. And for anyone listening, you might think, wow, this is amazing work. Where do I start? ITSM seems like, a topic, Derek, you can speak very confidently about, but someone else who is in your shoes maybe 5 years ago might be wondering, okay, I want to do this too. What advice would you give to them, Derek?
Well, I think you're right. ITSM can be a little bit intimidating. There's a lot there. So I think of it, say ITSM is like an elephant, but then there's the expression, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So ITSM is modular. So the really key thing is to not be intimidated, but to take those elements of ITSM that are kind of immediately relevant to you and to your organization and implement those and use those. You kind of look at it and you take, well, what can my organization handle? Or what are the things that we really need right now? I don't need to implement everything kind of soup to nuts right at the beginning. It's like, I need some proper incident management. I need some proper request management. What are the things that my organization, my users, and my team can kind of absorb? And then as you build those, you really build on some success. And success leads to success. And it's an ever sort of evolving and ever kind of expanding journey. we've taken time to get to where we are now, but we're not even close to being done. There's always more that we can look at, kind of efficiencies that we can find, ways that we can improve our experience, the experience of our users, and kind of build up to sort of that ideal state that we'd like to get to. But it's honestly, it's one step at a time. So whether you're taking your 100th step or your first step, it's the same kind of basic things that you need to do. So, don't be scared, just take a look and jump in.
Well, thank you, Derek. We're going to wrap things up now. Before we do, I just want to ask you, is there anyone that comes to mind that you really want to thank as you have this opportunity right now to reflect on this amazing work that you've done?
I mean, I'd love to thank my technical support team at the foundation. So particularly Chris McMillan and Lee Wen Sang. They were really sort of my left and right hands as we were implementing this and working directly sort of with the Adaptavist team. And I also would like to thank sort of the whole foundation that's embraced these changes. And ultimately to thank all the really hardworking people at the hospital that are really directly working to sort of save lives, especially over the past little while. I know it's been challenging for them, and we really appreciated the work that we do, and anything that we can do to support them is really fulfilling.
Well, thank you, Derek. I want to thank you, and I want to definitely thank Sick Kids Foundation for allowing us to be part of this. Please visit sickkidsfoundation.com. Any donation, every donation makes a huge impact. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great Team 22.
Thank you.